11th of March 2024. This is a loose cannon, and if you listen to it you'll understand why it's a loose cannon. So I'm going to pull off some shots now. I look around me and all I see is chaos, destruction and collapsing of everything that is good and based on sound principles. Let me start with the EU. The EU citizens better wake up. They are running out of time. Their demise has been planned and the different things has been put into place to execute. And some executions has already started. Look at what happened at the end of the USSR. The USSR collapsed and everybody cheered. Communism has now fallen in Russia. But what happened to the EU? XXX had their plans in place for the EU. Slowly but surely they bullshitted the EU citizens into bundling them. They started with the EU. Initially that was only to make trade easier between a few of those European countries and to make travel easier between them. But think carefully, and I'm not going to sit here and try and recite history. You can go and Google it and check it for yourself. I'm just going to tell you what happened to you. Slowly but surely that EU concept was expanded and expanded, and what do you know? Next thing they had to have the EC, in Brussels, the European Commission. Now the first thing that you need to take into consideration about the EU Commission, the European Commission, not a single one of those guys sitting in that commission has ever been elected. All of them has been appointed. Does that sound familiar? Let's think about it. Sounds a hell of a lot like the Politburo. Fuck, what do you know? But let's not call it the Politburo, we call it the EC. And the next move they brought in the ECB. Now there was a bank for all those countries that has been pulled into this communism state. And slowly but surely, as the time went by, the EC took more and more and more powers. They started sending out more and more instructions all the time, bullshitting the people with the European Parliament. What a fucking joke. And before your own eyes, the USSR was born. And here in the background, on the side, in the wings, that fucked up situation, conglomeration, you like to call it NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It's the fucking North Atlantic Terror Organization. Because look what have they done. Under your own eyes, they invaded and destroyed Libya. They got involved in wars in the Middle East. That's got fuck all to do with Europe. But you, the stupid people of Europe, the stupid people, trying to tell the people and trying to tell yourselves and bluffing everybody, you are the clever people, you the fucking stupid people. Right in front of your eyes, Europe has been, Western Europe, the EU, was standing full-blooded communism block. But you're too blind to see it. Why? Because it happened slowly. Let me remind you about that story of boiling a frog. I'm not going to tell you the story, you can go and look it up, Google it. I'll tell you how to boil a frog. That's how you've been boiled. Now, let's move to America. What happened in America? The land of the free. Free of what? Free of common sense, yes. You were pulled into World War II. And I'm not going to go through the details, you can go and look it up yourself. But you stepped out of that war, the winners. That is what was claimed. Guys that are more critical will say different things about it, but let's keep it to that. The general idea is you were the winners. What did that do? That pumped you so full of fucking arrogance that you didn't see what Triple X is doing behind the scenes. Slowly but surely, they were busy turning your society into a fucking communist society. But you're too fucking arrogant to see it. And how did they do it? They started off by destroying family life. Because America was built on family, strong family bonds. All of that's been fucked. They destroyed your family lives. How did they do it? They made it fashionable for women to work. And what was the result of that? The women thought it was emancipation. Fuck, that was slavery. Now you were working for a salary and they could tax you. Triple X is smiling all the way to the bank. But what is the worst that happened? No more a mother in the home to look after the children. And what did you do? You gladly handed your kids off to the state for their minds to get fucked in the state schools by propaganda. And it didn't happen fast. Initially, up to in the late 60s, 70s, you were producing clever students from your schools. And then it went downhill. Why? When they started with all their shit, they took God out of your schools, they took God out of your legislature, they took God out of your parliament, your governing bodies, the House of Representatives. And slowly but surely, you must understand, Triple X is fucking clever. But what makes it almost humorous is how eagerly you played into their hands. And where are we today? America. The states, yeah, they still think they're states, but Washington controls all of it. Washington make the laws, Washington enforce the laws, Washington decided, fuck that, no border protection, let the immigrants flood in and all of that. And today, in 2024, the once proud United States has been fucked beyond repair. Yeah, you may think I'm talking shit. Go and sit down and talk to people that understand things and has got more insight than the average light bulb. And they will tell you the United States has been broken beyond repair. Your industries, the greenies, fucked your industries. And you eagerly exported your jobs and your dirty industries to China. What happened? You're sitting there, you're busy with a war with Russia and Ukraine, you can't make enough ammunition. The mighty USA, you can't make enough ammunition. I'm fucking laughing because it shows you Moses 6 verse 6 is extremely applicable today for the EU and for America. Moses 6 verse 6. Stupid people must suffer. The big, almost hilarious part is Europe is now in the part that is covered by Moses 6 verses 13, which says, fuck around and find out. Now you fucked around and now you're finding out. Your industries is fucked. You're in energy starvation. You're bankrupt. Why? Triple X played their hands well. And they've got their minions and their plans were working great. The greenies fucked you without a bullet. That was the biggest joke. And then came these gender confused fuckers. And they destroyed your family life without a bullet. And that's the same for America. So you guys sitting there in Europe and sitting in America that were once the rulers of the world, you have become the laughingstock of the world. China and Russia, they're sitting there and they're checking, and Xi Jinping picks the phone up and he phones Putin and he says, bro, did you see that? And that is what is now going on. The Western Empire is Murtu, gone. In Afrikaans we say Murtu, which means it's fucked beyond repair. And that is what's happening to Europe and America. I'm not even going to talk about Canada. Canada sits between the two. Canada's got no escape. In any case, Justin is making sure the skids are greased. So Canada's going the same route. That's the problem. And then we come to Africa. What happened here in Africa? Triple X was very clever. First they do is they engineer it so that all the white people must be fucking removed from everything. And under the banner of freedom, the colonies were given back, got their independence. But what happened at the same time of independence? Triple X machined the environment so that the whites was driven out of those countries. Why did Triple X do that? Because they're clever businessmen. They knew the blacks are going to fuck those countries up and they're going to fall into chaos, which will make them easy to plunder. And that is what's been happening. But the blacks, they were very subtly, they were taught this next fucking fallacy. All people are equal. All people are equal. There are blacks that walks around. They make videos about it and say blacks has invented everything in the world. These blacks have been brainwashed into a place where they were told they're super fucking humans. And they believe that. But look around at the facts. How every previous colony that is now independent country tumbled, stumbled, rolled, and then took a fucking nosedive back into the Stone Age. Everything resembling modernization and civilization just collapsed and frotted and rotted into uselessness. Many countries beyond repair. Here in my own country we can see it. But these blacks, they're the clever guys. They can do everything. They have invented everything. They are the same as everybody. But they fucked the railways up. They fucked the steel industry up. They fucked Eskom up. They fucked everything up. The industrial base of South Africa was wiped out in 30 years from being the leading economy in Africa to being a fucking beggar and a pauper fucked with debt. That is why Triple X placed the blacks in control, because they knew that they're going to fuck that up. Plus, they knew that they could manipulate these blacks to do all these things. When they tried it with the Boere, they were told to fuck off. And then they came with their sanctions, and the Boere kept South Africa afloat and actually made it grow under sanctions. Now all of the sanctions are gone, the blacks are in power and everything is fucked, so they actually don't need much. But let me tell you this fallacy that blacks has fallen for. They are of the opinion all people are the same, which is total bullshit. Just go to China. The Chinese population, and it is documented, highly intelligent, high IQ, in the range of 105, 106 average for the population. Plus they are extremely disciplined by nature, hardworking. And the Chinese government used that aspects and those attributes of the Chinese. They gave them hell of a good education, so they created this very clever engineers and scientists for China. Plus they used the discipline of the population to work the factories, and in 30 years they turned China into the biggest manufacturing economy in the world. That's what they did. But the blacks tell you all people are the same. Why didn't they do it here in South Africa? In South Africa the reverse happened. The blacks managed to fuck the economy in 30 years. The Chinese pulled 800 million people out of poverty in 30 years. The ANC drove 28 million people onto SASA. What the fuck is that? But they tell you they're all the same. All people are the same. You go to Russia. And you must remember, the blacks are of the opinion all people are the same. But go and look at Russia, a country that has been invaded so many times throughout history, and massive operators tried to destroy Russia. But the Russians survived. They survived. And today, the Russian military is fucking NATO up in the Ukraine. And I don't care what you say. Go and look at the facts. But let's come back to this, all people are equal. Now tell me, if all people are equal, why the hell is the Russians today one of the biggest providers of grain in the world? Why? Could it be because they have got fucking clever farmers? And the Russian government is supporting the farmers flat out to produce like hell. And what happens here in South Africa? These equal blacks, they fuck the food production up to a point that we are now, many things that we were self-providing must now be imported. But they're clever, they like it. We are clever, we are the same as all people. So yeah, in two examples, I told you that, I showed you that they're not the same. They're not the same as the Chinese, and they're not the same as the Russians. And this is where the problem for the blacks in South Africa is. They live in this fucking la-la land. They can do, a black person can do anything. It's only your skin. You only need that black skin. Then you can be a CEO. You only need that black skin, and then you can be in charge of Eskom. You only need that black skin, and you can be in charge of railways. You don't need fucking brains. No, brains is cock. Fuck, brains is not counting. Brains doesn't count. Intelligence doesn't count. And please understand me. I'm not going to generalize. There are very, very intelligent and clever blacks here in South Africa. But the ANC made fucking sure that the clever blacks were labeled clever blacks, and they are being treated the same as white people are being treated. And now they're very quick and they want to get rid of all the whites here in South Africa, and Malema, and now Ramaphosa himself. They're all standing on stages and telling you, kill the boer, kill the farmer. But you have to use what intelligence ever you have, and if you live in South Africa, and Google and go and check what the fuck happened to Zambia when all the whites were driven out. Go and look what happened to Zimbabwe. Zambia has turned around. Today, there's no more load shedding in Zambia. Zambia is an exporter of food. I wonder why. Well, fuck yes, I have showed you in some skid marks. The Zambians, they welcomed the Rhodesian farmers when the Rhodesian farmers fled from Zimbabwe. And today, Zambia is not in famine. Zambia is a net exporter of food. And where is Zimbabwe? Half of the fucking population is dying of hunger. So this is how XXX has cleverly machined the world, the Western world and Africa, to suit them. But let's look at how stupid the fucking people really are. You see images of the horrible things that the elite is doing to children, but you just scroll past it. You don't get onto your fucking motorbike or into your car and drive up and go and find that fucker that is doing it and wipe him out. No. You just look at the video and you scroll past. You're allowing them to do these things. And then you wonder why the fuck you are doomed. You are doomed because you are protecting those evil fuckers. You fight against among one another about race, about religion, about shit like that. And you're busy, very busy, very busy. And the time while you're busy with each other, they went on a global spree, which failed in the East and in Russia, but it succeeded in the rest, the West specifically, and poisoned the population. And I wonder by myself, these Europeans and Americans, they want to claim they're so fucking clever. And I ask myself, if you are so fucking clever, how is it that you guys were running percentages of heat shots? 94, 96% of your population. That 94% tells me a different story. But in any case, who am I? I'm an old toppie, sitting here in the bush in Africa, southern Africa. And I look at these things and I ask myself, how the hell did it happen? But I can tell you, point number one, morality was wiped off the table. Point number two, principles were wiped off the table. Nothing that is good survived. only the evil remained. I can see little flames of good jumping up all over, but it is small flames, it's campfires compared to runaway veld fires. But I have to be positive about what I see. So tonight, my message to you, all of you in Europe, all of you in North America, United States, you guys better wake up. Triple X caught you in a trap. I don't know if you're going to come out of that trap. But isn't it ironic that Khrushchev laid out the route of how to turn a society into communism? And at the same time, what did the Russians do? They rooted out communism in their society. And what is the difference? Russia sits with a growing economy, very little foreign debt, massive amounts of cash, massive natural resources, massive producers of food, and an extremely capable army. Not only men, but machines. And the Russians are able to protect themselves today. And Europe, been disarmed in the Ukraine, bankrupted in the Ukraine. America, bankrupted. And they have got now a major problem. The capacity to produce arms has been reduced to such an extent that they can barely make it to provide in their own needs. And they made the whole world dependent, Western world dependent on them. So, what is in front of the American citizens and in front of the European citizens is the same thing that's in front of the white people in South Africa. But I've got a funny feeling the whites in South Africa, the Boer, is going to survive because we have survived throughout the ages. Here is some little bit of trivia just to think about something. In the around about 1870, the Xhosas were 33,000 people. Today they're deep in the millions. The Boere, the Khazara, and the Joiners wiped out 70,000 women and children in the concentration camps in the 1890s. Just imagine it. If it wasn't for that slaughter, the Boere could have been, someone told me, in the vicinity of 18 million today, not a meager maybe 500,000. So, think about these things, and then you ask yourself, how did the Boere manage to survive? Because the Boere are principled people, and they know that they have to keep their hand in the hand of God. So, for Malema singing to kill the Boer and kill the farmer, he must think carefully about what he is saying, because he might learn on the hard way that Moses 6 verses 6 is a serious verse. Stupid people must suffer. But I'm going to end this now, and I'm ending it with this message. Europe, Europeans, you allowed Triple X to turn Europe into a communist state. And you can jump around as much as you like. Go and Google what communism is, and then go and look around in your society what you live in. The same for the Americans. Go and Google what communism is, and then look in your society and your environment and see what you are living in. Both of you, Europe and America, you are living in communist states, but they are branded democratic. But the reality is a different story. You can call a chicken an electric vehicle if you like, but if you look at it carefully, it's still a chicken. And this is what you must understand about Europe and America. You can call it a democracy if that makes you happy, but you are actually a communist state, both of you. And here in South Africa, I see hard times coming for the blacks. Very hard time. Look, the whites are not going to escape it, but it's going to be extremely hard on the blacks. because they live also in an illusion. They live in an illusion. And that illusion bubble is going to burst. And where are they going to find themselves? They, the blacks, does not have the capacity or capability to repair this country. And the repair is desperately needed because the country is out of water. I have mentioned it previously that in 1976 the CSIR published a paper in which they said specifically South Africa can cope with 45 to 46 million people. And the biggest problem for South Africa is water. And what did this ANC do? Instead of looking at after the water infrastructure and maintaining it and modernizing it, no, they let it go and fucked it up. So now there's a massive problem with water, and it is exasperated by the Eskom problem. Now we hear of parts in the cities where people are 27 days without water. Now, you must just listen carefully. The CSIR predicted that in 76 already. But why should the ANC listen to it? It was a fucking stupid white people said it. We the blacks, we the clever guys, we know better. Oh, you know better. You know better how to fuck a thing up. That's what you know very well. But your time is running out. There is no logical set of things that you can use to say that you have a future. Everything is fucked. But Moses 6 verses 6. And in South Africa we're also now very close. And there's many elements in South Africa is in Moses 6 verse 13. Fuck around and find out. You fucked around with the railways, now you're finding out. You fucked around with Eskom, now you're finding out. You fucked around with the hospital systems, now you're finding out. You fucked around with the water systems, now you're finding out. You fucked around with the harbors, now you're finding out. That is the reality. You need to get to that place where you look reality in the eyes and then look at one another and say, guys, how the fuck are we going to get out of this shit? Maybe we should talk to the Boers. They survived the sanctions. We had all the freedom and we fucked up. Maybe we are not all the same. Let that one sink in. Please give me a like and a subscribe and share this thing. Thank you for your support.